What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Citizens of Gaming podcast. I'm Tim.
Hey, this is Josh.
And I'm Brenden.
All right, so here's part 2 of the Citizens of Gaming Awards, and we're just going to dive right back into it. All right, Brenden, you want to tell us about the next category and explain it?
Yeah, so our next category is going to be best story or best narrative. So just a game we felt either from the campaign or through certain DLC missions or what have you, told the best story or the story that maybe we got into the most, that we enjoyed the most. And that could be for various reasons. But yeah, so it's really just the best, not necessarily single player campaign, but just the best overall story that a game told us this year. And Josh, what is your pick?
I ended up changing my mind for this.
How dare you?
I was going to go with
that.
Halo Infinite. Because it's such an impact. But for me, I think it's going to have to be Cyberpunk's storyline. Because, with Halo Infinite being, open world RPG, there's not a lot of... there's a lot of little, there's a lot of AI talking and stuff, but I feel like when it came to, just the personal experience of, the story and just all the... Cyberpunk for me. And just with its how we were talking about its immersion, it was very engaging, I felt. And it just kept giving and giving and giving. And, since, set is CD Projekt Red's, talent, especially when you look at Witcher 3, I just found myself having a hard time breaking away from the game. And, coming from playing, Witcher 3 or just, that really kind of changed my outlook for RPGs and, the story at hand and, what all you could do with the story and all the side missions and this and that. This had that kind of depth, right? With all the side missions and just the conversations. Its story for me was very, just gratifying, and it just kept me hooked hard. And even with some of the free roam stuff, you were just so into that game. At least for me, like we were talking about earlier, when the menu system or the waypoint system comes into breaking your concentration. That game rarely broke my concentration. I don't think I have played any game, even recently, even Halo, as religiously as I was playing Cyberpunk.
You were on it hardcore for a while.
I was.
It's, in my opinion, it was a great game. So I don't blame you at all.
It's a tremendous game. I mean, it's even better now than it was at launch because of all the bugs and stuff that they've finally patched and fixed and yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, story-wise, you are right. It is something CD Projekt Red is very good at. I hesitate to say best just because I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but they do a very good job of making even a lot of the smaller stuff
engaging.
Yeah, they give it its own little story. Almost every little side quest has its own little story, and maybe it's not the best story, maybe it's not the most interesting or original, but it gives you that hook to get into it. I mean, there's that little side quest in there about you helping a bartender find out about his cheating wife. He thinks his wife is cheating on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole little narrative that goes with that if you accept that quest and do it and, follow it through to the end and stuff.
Yeah.
Then that doesn't even touch on the main narrative that is just very kind of out there, but very unique story.
Even that side quest. sure you remember this, Brenden, the crazy taxi.
Oh yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
like
great.
it was so hilarious. It was a very drawn out mini side quest, but like it was progressively hilarious as you went through it. So it was like so gratifying, and it just like you said, it just all that goes for all the side quests in that game. It
Just
just
about,
kept you
yeah.
so damn hooked, you know.
The
Yeah, I
story.
mean,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Tim.
Okay, the story that the part that I really liked is with the story, it had a huge plot twist in the beginning of the game. In my recent memory, I can't think of another game that's had a huge plot twist like Cyberpunk did.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you're talking about, like kind of like the turning point in for the
The Keanu
beginning of the game.
Reeves point of the game, yeah.
Yeah, that was that that's what, like the art style and the story for me. That's I mean, I have not played a game that hard since Witcher 3 and probably Fable 2. Out of all the games I've religiously played, because like those scenes, I mean, like, spoiler warning, but like, like with eventually when you get to this part where you're conversing with Keanu Reeves' character, it's just the craziness of seeing him popping in and out of frame like he's actually in your head. And if you have gaming headphones on, just the whole immersion of everything that goes on, it has this when you are hallucinating him, or he's like, becoming visually real for you. It has like a sound system that's like kind of like in your ears, like it's inside your head, and it's so surreal. And like you said, like with that turning point of like, just Keanu Reeves and all that, the introduction of his character it's crazy, dude.
It is.
You know? But yeah, that's for sure. That's my pick. 100%.
Yeah, it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Yep,
A lot of great story in that game.
absolutely. All right, Brendan, so what would be your pick for best story?
In what I'm sure is going to be a shocking turn of events, I actually probably would have picked Halo Infinite, but again, I played Persona 5 Royal this year, so that's going to be my pick. It I'm going to try and do this as spoiler free as possible, but fair warning, there's going to be some minor spoilers at least. You play more or less kind of a generic silent protagonist. You're basically like a 17-year-old kid who's been transferred to this transferred to a new school in Tokyo because of a falsely accused crime, and then you end up meeting this wonderful cast of characters, getting all these, cool, crazy powers, and, kind of doing. I mean, it's a bit of a generic hero story to a point, I guess, but you do end up trying to, use these powers for good, kind of like your superheroes. But, that's very much the broad strokes. Where Persona really shines is in the minutia of the details and the interactions you have with the characters and how they feel about the situations you're in and about what's going on and the dilemmas you face as you deal with these people. So, full disclosure, bit of a spoiler. The first person that you deal with, who you have to, once you discover your powers, you have to go, quote unquote, inside their heart and change it, is a teacher at your school who is physically abusing his students. He's the coach of the volleyball team and the gym teacher. So he's like physically abusing all his male students because he's trying to make them the best, and he thinks that's the only way to do it. and then he is also sexually abusing a lot of the female students. So
Jeez.
it dips into this darker material. Doesn't make light of it. Doesn't make a joke about it. Doesn't push itself. It simply like kind of puts it out there. And so it deals with this dark subject matter without shying away from it, without doing it its justice in its severity and how terrible it is and all that. And then you have to, and then again, like I said, you have to deal with that. Like you and your friends in your group, start talking about like, well, we have to stop him because he's doing these things, and like, well, how do we do that? And so the story revolves around you figuring out how to deal with these people committing. There's several different people, and they're all doing different things, but dealing with these people and how it affects them. Like that first one with the gym teacher is very personal, because the first few people you meet are the people in your high school who end up becoming your friends, and so one of them is kind of or the first two people you meet, I should say, are victims of him and what he's done. And so it becomes a very personal thing for them, and you get to see them react to it, and again, that plays out through the rest of the story too, as you get more people in your party and find these new members. It's tells this great story of overcoming your problems and your own issues, and trying to better yourself as well as bettering society by fixing these people.
Yeah.
And it's a grand story. I mean, I mentioned it before. Like my first playthrough of the game took me like 130 hours. Like it is a lot of story, but it's rarely dull. It pays off in spades. It's heartwarming and entertaining. It's really got almost everything you want. It hooked me from, well, maybe not minute one. It took a little bit to get into, but like it does this whole framing setup, to set up how the story is told. It just does all this cool stuff, and again, all within that same art style of kind of like a living Japanese comic book manga. It does it like it really. It's an emotional roller coaster. It takes you through a lot of ups and downs and a lot of twists and turns, and it's one of the best paid off stories too that I've had in a while. It's really satisfying, and I enjoyed it thoroughly up and down.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is, yeah. I think I thoroughly enjoy the yearly roundups, because you get to kind of really bask in on some of the greats,
Yeah.
That is the purpose.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, Persona 5 Royal definitely has had the best story I played this year. It just hit on. It was firing on all cylinders and really hit every note you wanted it to, and it's just tremendous. But with that, Tim, your best story / narrative of the year.
For me, the game that I picked is Mass Effect Legendary Series. And the reason...
Good pick.
It's a very solid pick. Horizon Zero Dawn was a very close second, but I stuck with Mass Effect on this one. What I really liked about the story so far of what I've played of it is it carries through each game. It's not each game's a standalone, and you're having to relearn a story of that game. It picks up essentially where it's left off. Something that I really like. I also really like that any of the side quests do have, in some sort of roundabout way, have an impact on the story itself. It kind of ties everything together. And so that's kind of why I went with Mass Effect for that. And you guys have both played it, so I know you both can definitely agree with that the story of Mass Effect is a phenomenal one.
How far are you now? Where are you at in the Legendary Collection?
So I haven't played it too much recently because I've been stuck on Horizon, but I'm in Mass Effect 2. I'm like 4 hours into Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's I know it's one of Josh and mine's favorite series.
It really is.
And we said it before. Like at some point, we'll talk about it. Probably whenever Tim finishes it, whenever that is. Not trying to rush it or anything, but I'm just saying like it will probably happen at some point down the line.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, Mass Effect. The first one, even as rough as some of the gameplay still is, still tells a great story. Again, great characters that you care about, and that you can get invested in, and yeah, it tells this kind of fun, thrilling space adventure that. I mean, it's the upside to the Legendary Collection for sure, is that you could just roll them all off back to back and carry all your stuff over. You don't have to try to remember what happened when you played that game 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And with the Legendary, it actually gives you a little synopsis of what you did in the previous game too,
Yeah,
which is really cool.
It also brought in that comic book thing. Yeah, so the Legendary Edition. It did a remarkable job. Like I was mentioning, like with that game specifically, even due to like I can thank Brenden a million times for this. He's the reason why I got into Mass Effect at the beginning. Just anyways, but it was trial and error with that game for me, because I never knew how to fully really play the hell out of a game and look for everything and do this and that and this and that. I learned the hard way with a lot of playthroughs, even before the Legendary Edition, and even still now. There was something recently I did in it that kept me on playing it, which has really kind of helped me play other games better and more thoroughly. Because I tell you what, Mass Effect, I mean, we even have some friends who still find things out today that you're just like, really? What? You could do that? And yeah, what, 20 years later, 30 years later? Yeah.
Well, not quite that far.
Yeah, but it's just the scope of it's like you really thought you did something, but you really didn't do it,
Right.
Well, I mean, part of the greatness of that game's narrative is the million different ways that it can play out. Especially if it's your first time through it, and it hasn't been spoiled for you, so you don't know, you don't know what's what or what has relevance or what have you. But yeah, there's a million little details and stuff end up piling up and can change things,
how you word the
farther down the line into later games and in that game in general too, and depending on it. And it's also one of the best games where you do have multiple options of how to play and what choices you make, and none of them feel less than the other option.
Yeah.
Normally, you would pick a game and good or bad, but it's usually the good ending's the nice one, and usually the one that feels better and makes more sense and what have you. And then well, the evil one might be more fun to play. The storyline itself doesn't really work out as well, but in Mass Effect, it doesn't matter. Regardless of how you play it, the story still connects and still feels rewarding, regardless of the choices you make and Uh, I guess maybe the best way to put it is it doesn't feel like it harms you for picking certain choices as opposed to others. Like no matter what you pick, it is a rewarding and satisfying narrative that can carry through all three Mass Effects.
It absolutely is. And to piggyback off your point there, Brenden, is your choices matter too. Not like other games that have choices, like they actually have an impact on the story and where the story goes or what happens in that story.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the it's the little niche conversations that can lead you into things that you didn't know you could do, and that's like the biggest thing. My learning curve for that game was the conversations. If you don't have enough of them, you can miss out on things. It's that easy.
It is,
you know.
And so that's why I picked Mass Effect. Just an all-around great story. All right, Brenden. So
I'm proud of you for that one.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. All right, Brenden. Game of the year.
Yeah. Game of the year. This is best overall game of the year. It could have won one of our previous awards that we gave out. Could have won none of them. But again, this is just what we feel personally is the best game that we played this year. Overall, everything included of whatever the game is. So with that in mind, Josh, fire away.
Well, I'd have to say Halo Infinite. Because, that game as a whole with its multiplayer that is is still experiencing its rocky launch. Coupled with its, what I've done in its campaign, for me I think would qualify for best game of the year for me. With the nostalgia of it, and especially with them kind of nailing the old feels and nostalgia of the multiplayer and kind of paying true homage to like how Halo 3 and Reach and all the previous successors used to play, compared to like the crappy ass Halo 5. Pardon my language. It takes game of the year for me. Halo Infinite for sure. Because, Brenden, we were playing the crap out of it last night. So, I haven't played a Halo with you in so damn long. Probably since Reach. And
I think we played Halo 4 a bit together. But
we might have.
I'm sure we did, but it definitely wasn't Halo 5 because neither of us really enjoyed Halo 5.
Yeah, no, I hated Halo 5. But with the coupled of playing it with you and playing it with Tim. And playing it with another cousin of mine and some other people, with the combination of that nostalgia and this nostalgia of how the game feels and even the campaign takes the cake for me for game of the year.
It's a good choice. It really is.
Absolutely.
We mentioned it a bit before, but it really feels like Halo again, and I realize that sounds like kind of an obvious thing to say, like, well, yeah, it's Halo, it's supposed to feel like Halo, but like Halo 4 felt a little off, but not like terribly so. But Halo 5 did not feel like Halo. It just so yeah, having Halo Infinite come out and again really feel like Halo in all the best ways is just awesome, and it just proves how timeless that game and that feeling can be when done right. It just shows how good they hit on and that in Halo 1 and 2 and 3 and so on.
Even with like the multiplayer still being a work in progress, it
has gotten better.
It has actually. I got another update today, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's been a good experience so far. I was actually kind of scared that they were going to flop with it again after the direction they went with it in Halo 5, but I love being proven wrong.
It is a good feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, Brenden, what would be your game of the year pick?
Well, gonna keep repeating this phrase here. It would have been Halo Infinite. But I played Persona 5 Royal. In a real shocking twist. Swept my awards. But again, like I've harped on it already. Like it's incredibly memorable. It's, some of the best writing in a game in a while. A ton of, like, I care about, like, every character. It should be a testament to say how good this game is. The fact that I played it and finished it twice, because I typically don't play typical JRPGs like the older Final Fantasies, like Dragon Quest, stuff like that. And this is very much in that same vein, and it definitely hits some of those same stereotypes and same tropes that a lot of JRPGs do. But it does so much different and around to those things, and changes enough of those things up to where, personally, it's probably the best JRPG I've ever played. And I would argue that it probably deserves to be talked about as the greatest JRPG of all time. I hear, off of the distance, a bunch of Final Fantasy VII nerds yelling at me and how wrong I am, but they can go fuck themselves because that game's not that great. But, I mean, again, maybe it isn't the best of all time. Like, that's up for debate, and there's a whole subset of, types of JRPGs and stuff. But as far as, like, that base standard JRPG, like, it's the best one I've played. And to also cement it further, it's probably the first game since Witcher 3 that I got emotionally invested in. And what I mean by that is, like, where I cared what was happening to the characters and the main character and stuff in this world and what was happening. Like, I was invested. I bought in. I played a lot of games, and a ton of games are great, amazing, but they never get you emotionally invested. And this game definitely got me. And again, it's probably the first game since Witcher 3 2015, so that's 6 years.
Wow. Hot damn, really?
Yeah. Like, again, like, perfect example, like, I love Cyberpunk. I loved playing Cyberpunk last year, and I had a really great time, and I'll sing that game's praises for a long time. But it never quite got me emotionally hooked. Like, I was enjoying myself, I was playing the crap out of it. But it never really got me. Like, same thing with, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to, like, say that therefore these games are inferior or anything like that. Some of my favorite games, I had to create the emotional connection as opposed to it actually getting me. A perfect example, Monster Hunter World. I love that game to death, and I will still play it occasionally to this day. But do I care what happens to the main character of that game? No, because it's pointless. The whole point of that game is me beating the shit out of giant dinosaurs and taking their skins. Like, it's the first game, again, in that long time that has really got me emotionally invested as to where, like, I wanted to know what was going on for my own sake, as opposed to just because, it's a quest line in a game.
That's fair.
If you can understand that differentiation. Yeah, it really fires on all cylinders, and I cannot... Again, if they're, like, again, the fact that I played that game, like I said, I think I finished like 235 hours after 2 playthroughs. How I play games recently, the fact that I played through that game twice in a row with the game genre that I typically don't really play in, should tell you how fucking good that game is. I can't really describe it better than that. And honestly, had Forza and Halo not come out, I might still be playing it. I might have gone for a third playthrough.
Wow.
It's so good. It really is. I can't sing its praises highly enough. I really can't. But anyway, I'll stop gushing about Persona 5 Royal, which has basically been me this entire entire podcast.
The name of this episode, Persona 5.
Yeah, I mean, have to change the name of it.
I was gonna say we could do an entire episode where it could just be me talking about it for God knows how long.
People might get bored of that, though.
Yeah, I know. It'll be like a worst episode. It's fine. I'm just saying I could do it.
I have no doubt.
But anyway, moving on. Tim, your game of the year.
The game that I have selected as my game of the year is going to be Horizon Zero Dawn. We definitely kind of touched on this game earlier. The whole game itself, to me, is just, it's a complete game. Like I said, the graphics are absolutely stunning. To me, the story, the premise, the setting of the game is more tiptoeing that line of original. It's not taking ideas from another game, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
The physics in the game, I think, are very well done. I honestly have nothing bad to say about that game. And it's one of the few games where I look for side quests to do because I don't want to finish the story too quickly. I want to explore and I want to see all that the game has to offer, and it really just draws me in. I haven't picked up Mass Effect in 2 weeks now because I'm so drawn to Horizon right now. Like, I want to keep playing it. I want to keep putting hours into it because this game is just mind-blowing to me. It is a phenomenal game, and I cannot wait for Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Hopefully,
Forbidden West.
Horizon Forbidden West. Thank you.
You know,
I hope it comes to PC right off the bat. I might have to wait. It's not.
No, it's going to be PS4, PS5. Hopefully, down the road, at some point, it'll be on PC. But off the rip, no, PS4, PS5.
You know, this is kind of like, you know, the experience I've been waiting for you to have.
Yeah.
I thought Mass Effect would do that for you. But all it does is it takes one game to change just the RPG space for you. Yeah. That enables you to really connect with other games and really play
So I really love medieval style games. And this isn't a medieval style game, but just something about it just grabbed me. And that's why I've picked this game.
I mean, just imagine like with how this game's teaching you right now. Imagine applying what you're doing into the other games you're going to play eventually. It's going to change it for you.
Absolutely.
Well, it's cool. To your point, Tim, it's one of the most originally set games ever, to be perfectly honest. Or definitely, at least in like the last probably 10 to 15 years. I mean, you know, most games, you know, you could be like, oh, it's, you know, a dark fantasy, or oh, it's this, you know, crazy sci-fi game set out in space, or oh, it takes place in the modern day. Like, you know, it very much hits these generic stereotypes. And not that there's anything wrong with those stereotypes,
right?
Or those generic settings, because, you know, they're easy. There's a lot to do with them that you can have fun with, and yada yada. But like, again, like we talked about, it's like this weird post-apocalypse with giant robot dinosaurs and animals and humanity trying to recover in this kind of what is now kind of a vibrant rebuilding world. And it really, like, it's there's a bit of a funny story that goes along with the game. The game's made by Guerrilla Games, and they originally just made the Killzone games. I don't know if you guys have heard of those or remember them.
Yep.
Yeah. They were supposed to be PlayStation's quote-unquote Halo killer. They didn't do that. Shock. But like they were pretty good PlayStation exclusive shooters. So they made Killzone 1, 2, and 3 on like the PS2, PS3. And then the PS4 came out, and they made Killzone Shadowfall, which is a bit of a different take on it, but it was still within the Killzone universe. And so, you know, as that game was wrapping up, they wanted to do something different, and Sony was like, "Yeah, go for it. Like this, you know, you guys have been doing Killzone, like come up with something, and you know, pitch it to us, and we'll see how it goes."
I can't believe that's the same people.
Yeah. Well, so what happened is the heads of the studio all got together and had a meeting. Like, we need to come up with a new game. And, like, we want to do something different that isn't a shooter. Like, the only qualifications were that it wasn't going to be like another first-person shooter, and just come up with something different, something unique, something out there, and maybe something a bit challenging to really like challenge the team, not in a bad way, but just like test them, try out some new areas or some new things. And so they went back. The design, some of the design team came up with a few different designs, and one of those designs was the basis and setting and stuff for Horizon Zero Dawn. And they came up with like 2 other ones, but they went with this one because they thought it was the most unique and the most challenging game for them to make. And so that's why they decided to make Horizon Zero Dawn. And then look what comes out of it is this tremendous game.
Yes.
Rip Scalebound.
I'm glad they went with it because like I said, I can't say enough about this game. It's an amazing game.
It really is. Again, I didn't play it on PC. I played it on PS4 when it came out in like 2017. But yeah, it's a great game that is just so well. Maybe the mechanics aren't wholly unique.
They're solid mechanics,
settings,
though.
Oh yeah, no, it's still good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to harp on that. Like, they're rock solid and they play tremendously well into the game they made. But yeah, just that setting and the story it tells is just so different and so unique and special. Honestly, like it's like I played it 4 years ago. I still remember it. I mean, not perfectly. Like I don't have perfect recall, but I still remember most of the story pretty well, and it's a testament to that game and how good it is.
Yeah.
So that's why Horizon Zero Dawn is, my game of the year. All right, so I think we're going to start wrapping up this episode. This is a doozy. So
yeah, it's gonna be a long one.
Brenden, what? No, hold on. What are we doing, guys? We have to do the notable mention. The honorable mention: Rockstar's table tennis.
Well, we couldn't put it in anything because
we couldn't, but we have to mention it.
We wanted to give it everything, but we couldn't do it because it didn't meet our qualifications.
No, but
we can't even put it in best ongoing because it hasn't been updated in like 10 years. So,
but the honorable mention: Rockstar table tennis.
Can't go wrong.
Please, Rockstar, give us another one.
Best game in our hearts, Rockstar table tennis.
I agree. Anyways, what games are you playing this week, Brenden?
Mostly just Halo Infinite. The campaign came out and I finished it. I haven't gotten all the collectibles, just because some of them are locked behind missions that we can't replay currently, which is a feature they are adding at some point, but they haven't added it yet.
I know they fixed the update today. They fixed some of those armor.
Yeah, there was a weird bug where some of them would get wiped or you couldn't access them or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they fixed that. But yeah, like, so some of the skulls are hidden behind mission walls that you can't replay, so I don't have all the skulls. But I went around and I cleaned up the open world, so I've done everything. And I'm probably just going to be playing Halo until Christmas, honestly. Like, maybe a bit of Forza here and there. Just, I don't want to start anything with Christmas around the corner where I'll probably get a game or two and play that, whatever those games are.
Yeah, there's not much coming out, is there, for Christmas?
Well, yeah, it's so close to Christmas. They're not releasing anything now.
Yeah.
Nobody's that dumb. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
But yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Awesome.
Josh, what are you playing?
Currently just finished the DLC for Odyssey, free DLC. Kind of started Valhalla's and then been playing a bit of Destiny and a lot of Halo. Trying to get that Battle Pass done.
Well, you got time.
No, yeah, because they plan on keeping that one out for a while. So I mean, I'm
so they can
78 in the battle pass, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I mean, I'm almost done with it anyways. But yeah, that's I'm not really playing much besides Halo's campaign and multiplayer, Destiny, and it's that free content for Odyssey and Valhalla.
Nice.
What about you, Tim?
I think it's going to come no shock. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Horizon Zero Dawn.
What?
I know.
Come on.
Mind blown, right?
I did not see that coming.
Wow. I'm glad that I could throw that plot twist out there in this episode. I do need to get back into Mass Effect, but just the way that Horizon's engulfed me,
Hey, then go for it. I mean, if that's what you're feeling, do it.
I want to go play right now. Like I said, I'm having an absolute blast with it. Josh and I have dabbled in Warzone, playing Caldera, but right now, my main focus is just Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice.
Yep. All right, so I think this is finally going to wrap up this massive episode that we did. I absolutely had a blast doing this one. It's kind of cool to hear each other kind of talk about like what are the best for each category. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it was really exciting for you guys to hear me talk about Persona 5 Royal a lot.
There's just so much more detail we could go into, obviously, yes. But that would turn into a 24-hour episode.
Or 235 hours.
Hey, I'll do it. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'll do an entire episode of me blabbing about Persona 5 Royal for 2 hours.
Get the popcorn, get the snacks. We'll have to mute our mics and chill.
Full spoiler cast. Full spoiler cast for Persona 5.
Yes. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys sticking with us. Follow us on Twitter at COG Podcast. We're on Facebook. You could subscribe to us on YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We really appreciate you guys sticking around, and we will definitely see you guys next time.
Later, guys.
Happy holidays. Thanks for listening.